Hello, and welcome back to Manifest Mindset with Affirm, Form, Attract. How you all doing? How is your 2024 going so far? Now, this is going to be part two for prepping your 2024. So, in part one, we discussed about getting whatever's in your head down onto paper or online, whatever, and then dividing those up into categories like your home life, relationships, etc., and then working on each category and subcategory. So we talked about identifying your pros and cons, your bad habits, your good habits, your strengths, your weaknesses, and we also discussed about highlighting them and things that you need to work on. I also talked about not stressing about if you haven't prepped yet. I haven't prepped for my 2024. I hardly ever get ready in enough time before the new year starts, and it doesn't matter. I give myself a whole month to prep, to ease any pressure of myself and stress, so you should do that too. I've talked about, as you are planning your 2024, there's no reason why you can't start some things, the smaller things. If you've got a messy house, start getting it tidy, start doing a little bit more exercise, etc. Whatever it is, whatever areas in your life that you need working on, you don't need to overwhelm yourself, but you can start. I also discussed about if there's so many areas of your life that need to be worked on, that you don't need to work it all at the same time. You can take the most important ones to you and build it up slowly, and then add more on as you go on throughout the year. And although I understand that this is very frustrating, because if you're anything like me, you just think, you know what, I just haven't done what I'm supposed to do. I'm not where I want to be, and I feel as though time is running out, so therefore I feel I need to do it all at once. I hear you, I get it, and sometimes that's a kick that you need, and you can do it, and sometimes it can be the very destruction and the downfall of your life. So pick and choose wisely, people. Pick and choose wisely. I left off talking about I had to go and recap there. I left off rather about when you are ready to start planning, making your plans, whether it's via journal, using an online app, that you should, if you're comfortable and you know what you want to do, go for it. But if you're stuck, go online, on YouTube preferably, and watch videos on people, how they plan their lives, whether they're using a journal, online journal, a planner, or whatever that you decide. And I also discuss that don't get tied to, that person doesn't represent me. If the information resonates with you, go with that. Please put aside any kind of prejudices like, they're young, what do they know, or they're too old, no. If you find someone and they resonate and what they want, go for it. Don't lose patience if you're looking and you just can't find a system that is working for you. Please be patient. I also talked about in the first one that whilst you're preparing, and you can always do a mini plan, like a weekly or daily to-do list, just stand alone on its own. Just for you to get started, so you don't feel like you're wasting time and you're feeling left behind, and therefore the end result will probably end up just like, what's the point, I'm just going to give up and not bother, I'll try again next year. And we don't want that, right? We do not want that. We don't even want, we'll try again next week. Okay, we don't want that. We want to try it now. So continuing, once you've established all of that and you've written everything down, the areas of your life that you want to work on, it's time to put it in a planner form or a journal form, or a notebook, or whatever is that you want to do. You can leave it as simply and as plain as you like, just to have something visual for you to work off. If you're anything like me, I'm a very visual person. I need to have all the aesthetics and more. That's just me. That's who I am. That's what kind of motivates me, gets me excited. I'm a huge creative. I love to create in all aspects. So things like that are very, very important to me, because it just helps stimulate my creative brain. So once you've established the platform that you want to use, or the tool that you want to use, it's time to start and you're doing your research. And what you will find that you may need, this is what I'm currently doing right now, is that I'm currently, as I'm planning and trying to design my, because I'm using Notion, my platform, what I'm using, it's not important, it really isn't, but it's bugging me that I need to get what I need to get for me to move. It's just one of those things, we all just have one of those quirks, yeah. But it's not stopping me from, like I said, making my little mini list of things I want to do for the week. Right, so you're at the planning stage now. You're watching videos, you're researching, and you're probably going to continue to watch the videos as you plan. And I find it's very handy to have my pen and paper at the ready to write down notes, write down things that I want, and then later on transfer it onto, for me, because I'm using my online platform, which is Notion, which I'm not sponsored by Notion, by the way, guys. I know I bring it up because I just love the app so much. I'm not sponsored by them, but this is what I am using because I found that it helps me, okay? And whilst you're sifting and sorting and putting your plans and making things work, it may, depending on how much you've got going on in your life or what area, because you might not want to do everything. You might just say, do you know what, I just want to work on my home life, I just want to work on my career, because you might be okay with aspects of your life that you don't need to work on. So don't feel as though that if certain things in your life is good, that you need to force it and try and make it better. If it's already good, leave it alone. Yeah, leave it alone. Don't try and force something that can mess it up. We don't want that. And then so you're putting everything down. You've found your platform, you've found your stylings, and you find ways of how you're gonna write it down. And then you're gonna start being honest with yourself, how busy you are, how tired you get, the things that you need to do. And you need to kind of marry both of them together. So your chaotic life that you're living now, yeah, and the life that you want to live. So you need to start planning things. Okay, I usually come home at 6:30 from work. I'm usually tired, I'm hungry. If you've got children or family, you need to do A, B, and C. So you have to kind of work out a system, yeah, of how you're going to implement you exercising this planner that you're going to do. Yeah, so again, that will come into the planning. When I get home, I'm gonna have 5 minutes to myself to just breathe, take off my shoe and coat, and then I'm gonna start the dinner, and then I'm gonna get the kids ready, and then you just plan it all out depending how old your kids are. When you put them to bed, you have a husband or a wife, spouse, you spend some time with them, and whether it's before or after, you might spend time with them and then plan afterwards, or plan for 20 minutes and then spend time. So whatever how your life looks like, you don't want to disrupt your life to cause problems. If you've got kids, you don't want to feel like, oh, mum's just like don't have time for us anymore, or your partner might just feel, oh, you're a bit distant, or not distant, but you just think. If you have to, just explain to your family what you're doing. Hopefully they are understanding. Not all families are understanding. They don't like change. It just is what it is. But hopefully that you have a family that is understanding and allow you to have your whatever time you set aside for you to do your planning and to do the things that you need and want to do. I'm gonna bring up the keyword patience here up again, because patience is needed when you're making changes in your life, especially when it's changes for the better. Now, unfortunately, when you try to make good changes, sometimes life feels as though it kind of ups its game to try and stop you in your midst, and it will throw in an unexpected letter of overdue bills, or a missed payment of something, or your children all of a sudden got the cold, or you yourself have got the cold. Things will happen, and when these tirades of things that come into your life, it's so easy to say, do you know what, I just give up. I'm sick and tired of every time I try to elevate myself, get better, do what I need to do, something happens to try and stop me. And some of those things may not necessarily be big things, it could be tiny things, but because they exist and they're there, it can really eventually throw you off. Talking to someone on the outside, they might say, well, it's only a little thing, like, come on, you can still do what you need to do. But it's not the little thing, it's the ongoing little things that keep coming. This is when you have to dig deep and say, you know what, it doesn't matter. Deal with what you have to deal with, and then just continue doing what you have to do. You have to push through. Yeah, when you're making changes in your life, no matter how big or small, you have to push through. Yes, I hear you. You spent days, weeks, months, years pushing through, and you get to a point where you just think, I'm done. And it happens, but we want to try and make sure that when we have our done moments, it lasts for about 30 seconds to a minute, and then we'll say, I'm over it being done now. I'm going to keep pushing on. Now, I like to talk about interruptions and stuff when you're living your life, because in reality it happens. It's nice and easy for me to say, just push through, ignore it. That's not the reality. I will give that advice, but the real reality is that there's going to be times when you can't push through because you're just fed up, and that's when it's good to take a break and reset yourself, and always keep in mind what the goal is, what your focus is, where you want to go. Because when you do that, that will help you, because sometimes their feeling of motivation and inspiration is just not going to be there. It's literally, well, if I want this done, I'm going to have to do it regardless of how I'm feeling. And you would have to push your feelings aside and you have to get it done. Now, for the past good few months, I've allowed certain feelings to interrupt my piece of things that I want to do. It's really hard to say because it's nothing really bad, per se, but it's just that kind of that overthinking of just, you're exhausted, you're tired, you're fed up, and the rest of it. And I'm usually good at, yep, that's fine, boom, let me push on. But there are going to be times where you just can't push on. But hopefully those days, those times are less and they don't last as long. Just like everything else in your life, when you're planning for a better future, it is really about digging deep and staying the course and focusing on the goal at hand. Now, that being said, what you will find is, whilst you're planning, depending on the chaos that is your life, it may not be chaotic, it might be quite simple. You can find that it could be overwhelming. I have a lot going on. There's a lot of things that I want to do. I do sometimes get stuck in my mind of all the things I want to do and I haven't started, or I started and I haven't really continued it. All those feelings and emotions, as you write down the stuff that you want to achieve, will come up. I was on my Notion and I saw a page, my 2022, and I looked at all the things that I wanted to master, to achieve, and I looked at every last one of them. I said, oh my gosh, this is 2024 and I still got to do every single thing on that page that I need to do. It was really sad. I was just like, wow. And I know that 2021 was probably the same, and maybe even 2020 was the same. When you find old notebooks and you think, why am I still aiming to achieve this? And this isn't like achieving this but the next level up. It's literally sometimes at the same level. And for a moment I was just like, is it even worth you trying? Is it even worth you? Because if you can't get stuff together, and this was 2 years ago, what makes you think that this time around is going to make a difference? Those thoughts will come into your head sometimes, and it's important to say to yourself, you know why? Because I'm going to continue until I get to where I need to go. You may fail again. I'm going to be up and real. You may fail again, but that's not where your focus is at. That's not where your goal is. It's like, yeah, I know I said I did this 2 years ago, so I'm going to do this 5 years ago, then still do it. If it's a book that you want to write, if it's a podcast you want to start, still do it. Yeah, there's nothing like the present. People have started different things at the time of their lives. And the reason why I'm so hot on talking about more problems than the solutions, simply because I'm trying to keep it as real as I can, to make you understand that this is reality. This is how things can happen, and it's okay. You don't need to get things right on the first go. Even if it's simple as, I said I was going to start writing a book and it's 4 years later, 5 years later, and I haven't started it yet. Yes, it's frustrating, but as long as you still have the passion and desire to do something, you have the ability to make it work. Now, I've been on my Notion for the past couple of days, and on Saturday it seemed like a disaster. My mind was over the place. Even though I've got everything written down, what I want, I've kind of pre-planned it. My mind was still a little bit like, oh my gosh. And that's a personal thing to me. That wasn't so much the organization of it. It was that I'm using Notion, and I want to make the as effective for me as I can. Nothing is guaranteed that if you plan your life and that you're gonna stick to it like glue and not miss a beat. Yeah, there's gonna be times you're gonna miss a beat. You might miss a few beats, but if you plan, at least you got something to go back to say, oh my gosh, this is what I haven't done, this is what I need to do. And it gives you the option to change things, because if something is not working, sometimes you might find that other aspects in your life has come into play. Like, you might end up having to do more hours working to get that little bit of income. You might find that you've been not yourself for the past few weeks, and you're coming down with the flu, or you're not really well, and you might need to adjust again. So that's the beauty about having a planner, is that you can always adjust things and tailor it to your needs at that moment. And the most important thing, like I said, is not to beat yourself up about it and be angry about it. It's just that this is just for the time being. I can still function, I can still do some elements, even though it may not be as much as I would like, but this is what I can do for now. And again, you keep that focus on your goal and goals at hand, and focus on changing the life and becoming the person that you want to become. Like I said before, you don't have to plan every single thing at once. You can take time, divide it into days and weeks and stuff for the things, elements of your life that you want to work on. If you want to extend it you can do your priorities. So my career is my priority. I want to work that through for the next few weeks while I kind of decide what I want to do, how I'm going to apply it, and all the rest of it. So you can do that. And then my next priority will be my relationship, my home, my health, whatever it is. And you can extend that throughout the months. Yes, I get it. You kind of want to get on it now, but you haven't and you didn't. So the best thing for you to do is start where you are and not where you would have liked to have started. That's just the best thing for you to do. Now, while you are prepping for your 24, you're writing it down, you've got your book, you've got your journal out, or you're doing online. Here's the part where the manifestation comes in. If at any time you are struggling, you affirm how you want your life to be. I always have time to work on my planner. I always have time to set aside to work on myself and improve myself. I always have time to get things right. I always know how to do the things I need to do. And with that will help you, so you're not just going through life and doing the obvious and the physical stuff of this is what I need to do, A, B, C, and D. You can then start incorporating the manifestation side of it. Now, I left this to last, even though yes, this is a manifestation mindset podcast, because let's face it, in a couple of podcasts that I did, my first one I talked about how sometimes when life gets at you, you can forget to manifest. You forget that you are in control, because life just shows you all the time that you're not. So you can slip your mind, and even though you might affirm a little bit here and there, it's never really strong enough. It's not your dominant thought or feeling for it to truly manifest in the way that you have. So sometimes I think, okay, let's just work on the practical stuff, the physical stuff that you can do, setting aside, deciding what you want, prepping for 2024. You can all do that. And then what you do in between that, any problems that you are struggling with, any areas you just manifest. I always have the time to work on my plan. I always have the time to improve my life. My life is improving as I speak. Anything that I need to know, I always find the right video that will help me. Whatever it is that you need to manifest, just apply and attach it to your life. Now, when you are doing your planners, and you're organizing your life, it's also good as well. Somewhere on there is to write some affirmations. Today's a good day. Today's always going to be a good day. I love how my days are always working out for me, or whatever it is. And you can put it in any aspect, any area. So maybe on every page that you are writing in, whether it's online or through a notebook or a journal, you can then just make sure you've got some kind of affirmation that you always read every single day to help keep you on track and for you to help you with your planning. Anyway, that's it for part 2. There may be a part 3, I don't know. It depends if there's any more I've got to say. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I hope you found some of these tips useful for you to use, and I hope you had the best 2024.